Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, we got a new mayor. We are keeping the old judges, and an unsuccessful city council candidate says she's picking up and moving out of town after losing. Girl, bye. We are talking about what happened in this week's election, the new faces joining Mayor-elect Corey O'Connor, a Jeep fire, a stuck Incline, and the Pittsburgh brand taking its sweet treats nationwide. It's Friday, November 7th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I'm with CityCast Mallory Falk and Sophia Lowe. Good morning, Yins.
Hello.
Good morning.
We covered a lot of stuff this week. It was election week. It felt bigger, I think, than it actually was.
Yes, but we started the week with our guide to November, so fun stuff you can do in Pittsburgh all month long.
Maybe that's why. It was just aspirational from the jump this time.
Hopefully you at least checked voting off of your to-do list for November.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then on Tuesday, we talked about, what's on deck for Pittsburgh's next mayor. Now we know for sure Corey O'Connor, what's the state of the city? What exactly is he going to inherit in terms of problems, what he needs to solve?
Challenges, opportunities.
Yes, and then on Wednesday, we zoomed out to the full state to ask why Pennsylvania still doesn't have a budget. We are the only state in the nation that has not passed a budget yet. So we shared an episode from our friends over at CityCast Philly. They talked to the top Democratic legislator in the state about why, in her view, these negotiations just keep dragging on.
Yeah, and she's not real shy about the answers. Highly recommend that one. And then yesterday, of course, what's happening? I guess this is zooming out even further, Valerie, to the federal government and what's happening with the SNAP program. But just trying to talk about where to donate, how to volunteer, how to find food assistance here in Pittsburgh while everything is just a complete mess.
Yeah, super important stuff. Highly recommend that episode too. But I guess now we are going to turn back to the election, or I guess election results.
So obviously the top line news is that we have a new mayor, Corey O'Connor, and we're going to talk officially official. We've kind of known that since the primary, but you still got to go through the whole process. We are going to talk more about his win, his victory speech, what we might expect from his office and the team around him in a little bit here. But first, we're going to talk about some of the other big results from election night.
I think the thing I'm the most blown away by, from this whole week, is just the turnout. So overall, the whole county, more than 44% of registered voters turned out to vote. Just for the type of election it is, for it not to include the presidential race, that is just so high compared to what we're used to.
Mm-hmm. Because this was more than 10% higher than the last off-year mayoral election, but still no comparison to a presidential election. I was going back to the numbers last year, and Allegheny County reported roughly 76% turnout. So still a long way to go before we get our off-year numbers up there.
I mean, still, I'll take the win, I think. I was also reading that, there are many precincts in the county that had over 50%. The 44% is, the average across all of them.
Right.
But a lot of them, went as high as, I guess higher than 50% for that to be the average.
Yeah, and obviously, there's going to be a lot of analysis in the coming days and weeks. I've seen some initial analysis that the judicial retention races played a part in this. You even had President Trump and former President Obama weighing in on this one. It got a lot of local and national attention, so that might have drawn more people to the polls.
Yeah, but we'll find out more, like you said, Mallory, in a few weeks, because it always takes a while for us to be able to fully glean all of the data and figure out how it shook out and why, or at least a little bit of why.
Yeah, but, speaking of that judicial retention race, it is official. Pennsylvanians voted to retain all 3 Democratic Supreme Court justices. We talked a lot about this race on the show because it could determine the future of things like voting rights and abortion access in the state. So there was a lot of money and attention on this one. But these 3 justices won by a pretty wide margin. Each got a little over 60% of the vote. And interestingly, they all got a lot more votes than when they first ran for the bench 10 years ago, which I think points to the significance of this race. A lot more people were casting their vote than they were, the last time around.
Yeah, I was also seeing analysis that some people were probably more tapped into these retention races than usual because of all of the mailers and the lawn signs. I saw so many of the lawn signs.
I mean, there was just so much money floating through this race too.
The lawn signs were really what prompted me to start paying attention to this race, like earlier than I would have. I always do my homework before races, but when I started seeing these signs pop up, it did make me think like there must be some pretty high stakes here if this many people are putting signs up for this race versus like a mayoral race.
Yeah, I think I definitely saw more retention signs than like Corey O'Connor or Tony Moreno for mayor. So huge reason for why people showed up to the polls. But for other people, it was about like expressing dissatisfaction with Trump and sort of like, the Republicans, they are holding, a lot of top offices in the country and here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen a lot of talk of that, not necessarily specifically about the Supreme Court here in Pennsylvania, but like mentioned in the same breath with like Zohran Mamdani, like winning the New York race for mayor, the Virginia governor's race, the governor's race in New Jersey. Like they were all just kind of like floated around, which could just be my bubble on the internet that a lot of them are Pennsylvanians. So they're mentioning things like our Supreme Court, but I don't know. It did make me wonder.
I mean, I heard the Supreme Court mentioned on an episode of The Daily that was also discussing these other wins, although they said there were 2 Supreme Court seats up for retention.
No,
so
not New York Times.
Checking New York Times.
Oof. Well, one interesting statistic I saw in WESA, more than half of voters in Beaver, Washington, and Westmoreland counties voted to retain these 3 judges. Again, Democrats. And this is kind of surprising because these are all counties that overwhelmingly voted for Trump just last November. So I'm curious to say what analysts say about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I'm wondering, right? Like, did Republicans just not show up? Or did they show up and say, you know what? I actually really like voting rights. I like bodily autonomy. Let's maybe keep the Democrats on this one. Like, time will tell.
Yes. Well, I want to turn now to another race that was kind of interesting to watch, the special election for Allegheny County Council at large. So a Democrat turned Labor Party candidate named Alex Rose beat Republican Mike Ambrescia, which means that for the first time since county council was created, there will not be a Republican in an at-large seat. I mean, it is important here to note that county council was created in the year 2000. So it's not like we're talking about breaking a century's worth of tradition or anything, but still feels pretty notable.
I mean, to me, the interesting thing here is that the seat, like that at-large seat, because there are over a dozen county council seats, but then there's 2 at-large seats. And those were created, one of them in particular, like by design to keep a Republican on county council. Like they're supposed to represent the whole county. And according to the rules, a single political party can only hold one of the 2 seats, which is why Rose changed from a Democrat, because a Democrat already has the other at-large seat, to an independent, to the Labor Party. So like it's kind of a way to get around the rules and frankly make county council more representative of Allegheny County. Like if voters want a Democrat, even by another name, like I guess they should get one. And that seems to have played out here.
Yeah, I like this loophole.
Yeah, so the seat has always been held by a Republican. It was held by Sam DeMarco, who's really been like a thorn in the side of County Executive Sarah Innamorato, very
Correct.
vocal critic. Yes.
So vocal.
But he resigned to go work for U.S. Senator Dave McCormick. And so Ambrescia had been appointed to replace him. Ambrescia actually tried to argue that there shouldn't even be an election for this seat. He should be able to serve out the rest of DeMarco's term. There was a whole legal battle about it, but ultimately the state Supreme Court ruled that there should be a special election for the seat. It should go forward. And
just one example of why the state Supreme Court is important. They're making decisions about elections like this.
Yes, very true. So like I said, this seat got flipped kind of through this hyper-specific set of circumstances.
So again, just to step back, there were only 2 Republicans on county council before. Now there is just one. So it's not like it's going to be some huge shakeup or anything, but it is interesting how this went down. It also means that there's not going to be a GOP representative on the county's board of elections because that's just 3 people, the 2 at-large council members and the county executive. So now that's going to be Sarah Innamorato, Bethany Hallam, and Alex Rose. So more to watch there.
You know, just speaking of Innamorato, I noticed that the statement she released right after the election, it felt pretty political. She said, quote, "Outside funders spent an unprecedented amount on county council races, trying to demonize me and my administration in an effort to support Republican county council candidates. Tonight, the voters overwhelmingly rejected that message of negativity and Republican extremism."
Yeah, Mallory, I think like when I first read that, I had kind of the same reflexive position, but like as I stepped back and tried to think about it, I think my understanding is that perhaps, and I may be projecting here, she was maybe a little irked by like the tone of the Republicans who ran. Like she's right, there was a ton of money that flowed into this race, and certainly in like more unusual ways than normal elections, whatever that means anymore. But like I think the competitors, right, like the Republican candidates were pointing at her, not necessarily like their actual competitor, but at Sarah Innamorato or their perceived alignment with her, because she's the one who proposed a tax increase. And God forbid we ever get a tax increase. Like taxes are the boogeyman for a lot of Republicans. So, I mean, I guess this is me reading into it. Perhaps she felt like it was a bit personal during the campaign. So this was her like one paragraph to be like, no, sit down, you lost.
Yeah. And I mean, they did, like, in addition to this at-large seat, all of the seats that were up for election, Democrats are going to hold those seats now.
Which brings us to city council. Unsurprisingly, the three incumbent Democrats who were up for re-election all won their seats. So Dan Lavelle, Anthony Coghill, and Erica Strasburger. Erica was the one who was running unopposed, so we've known that one for a while. But in the only truly open race, District 2, so West End area, Democrat Kim Salinetro won so handily. Like, I actually thought this one might be a little closer because her Republican challenger, Aaron Koper, has had such a big platform in the Republican Party, like way beyond what you would expect for a city council seat.
I'm not too surprised, though, because this was the race to replace longtime counselor Teresa Kell-Smith, and Salinetro was her chief of staff. So I also imagine Salinetro is probably like a pretty known face as someone familiar.
Totally. Yeah, it's not because I think Salinetro had less of a footprint there. I mean, clearly she had plenty. It's interesting when you watch any political party put so many eggs in the basket of a candidate for it to turn out as lopsided as this did, because Salinetro won by the last time I looked, it was like 76%. And that's probably going to climb as the last precincts report.
And also, this was a 3-person race. There was also an independent, David Tessiter, on the ballot. So, people were thinking like, oh, those two might split votes a little bit more and we might see like more traction in this district from a Republican. That did not pan out.
Yeah, I mean, in Koper, in case you missed it, you haven't heard us talk about it, she was just a really vocal Trump supporter. She had a primetime speaking slot at the Republican National Convention last year. She also posted something after the race that has had me cackling. Self-described makeup artist with a big voice said on Twitter, former Twitter, that her husband, Jake, and I will be selling our home and moving out of the city of Pittsburgh. I refuse to participate in insanity. Another common sense family moving out. Checkmark emoji.
Oof. Dare I say, if you lost an election and immediately leave, maybe you really shouldn't have won. I don't know how much you care about making things better then.
I mean, the other one I saw, like another post from her saying that she had like no regrets, that her team never saw any data to suggest that the race was impossible. Like, that one makes me pause because, she, like Aaron Koper, was being built as like a potential future like placeholder in the party, like the whole Republican Party. When she talked at the RNC, it was about how terrible Pittsburgh was, like just dunking on every bad thing and really embellishing a lot of things like crime statistics. It just makes me wonder like what data her team were looking at or were not looking at, because like the registration imbalance in Pittsburgh alone should be enough to suggest that perhaps this won't go your way. Like I'm floored by it. Like there's so many more registered Democrats than there are Republicans, but there was a lot of money going into it. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I know it's trivia time.
Trivia time. So today's trivia is sponsored by the Heinz History Center. They actually put together their own trivia nights. If you've never been, you should check it out. The next one is coming up on Thursday, November 13th. We will be there. We like to read around. So if you read our newsletter, if you listen to our podcast, you are almost definitely going to have a teeny advantage. But during trivia, you can also get a look at their exhibit, the Pittsburgh Hidden History exhibit. Our entire team highly recommends strolling through it to see the curator's favorite artifacts. It's a really really cool way to nose into what the Heinz History Center really likes. But we will move on to our actual question. So Corey O'Connor is going to be our city's 62nd mayor. His dad, Bob, was our 58th mayor, but the O'Connors are not our city's first father-son mayor duo. So how many times do you think in Pittsburgh's past has this happened, a father-son situation?
Pittsburgh loves a political dynasty, I guess.
True. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm gonna say it's happened twice before. I don't actually know the answer. That's just the guess I'm wagering.
I was also going to go with twice, and then Corey, rule of threes.
Wait, so you think it's happened twice and Corey and Bob are number 3?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And Mallory, that's your guess too?
Yes.
Okay. We will have the answer after the break. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Family House. For families traveling here for medical care, the cost of food is just another expense to worry about. But Family House's daily healthy breakfast program takes away some of that stress, while also providing a little connection. The program's available to all Family House guests, and it provides nourishing meals, a welcoming space, and the chance to meet others facing similar medical challenges. But the cost of this meal program is going up. Family House needs your help. Every donation helps keep breakfast and the support it provides available to those who need it most. You can give at familyhouse.org/donate and save the date for Family House's Day of Giving. It's December 2nd on Giving Tuesday. You know, Family House really is a home away from home for patients and caregivers here in Pittsburgh, and it's the preferred lodging partner for a lot of our healthcare systems here. So again, if you want to support their cause, head over to familyhouse.org/donate.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Frick Museums and Gardens and their world premiere of The Scandinavian Home, Landscape and Lore. The exhibit is open right now, and it is the perfect way to embrace the start of winter while still feeling all warm and cozy. There's this sense of magic to it all, because princesses, Vikings, trolls, gnomes, and folktales all come to life in this exhibition. The Scandinavian Home's got this mix of homey comfort and mythic wonder. The show features more than 100 objects from a private, never-seen-before collection. So you'll get to admire fine, decorative, and folk arts, so think furniture, ceramics, glass, paintings, textiles, sculptures, graphics, and metalwork. So much stuff, all from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And after debuting at the Frick, this exhibit is going to move on to other museums, so do not miss your chance to get that first look. The Scandinavian Home, Landscape and Lore is on view through January 11th, 2026. Get your tickets at thefrickpittsburgh.org. Coziness awaits you.
We are back. Okay, Megan, how many Nepo baby mayors have we had?
Credit to Pittsburgh Magazine for this one, because they've got a fun story up right now, detailing this municipal genealogy, as it were. So the answer is technically once. One other time this has happened, but it is kind of complicated. So I think one could make the argument that 2 is correct too. So buckle up. It's one family. Our 4th mayor, Magnus Murray, served twice in the early 1800s.
Magnus Murray, just to me, sounds like the epitome of the name of an 1800s era mayor.
You're probably not wrong, but his son-in-law, John Guthrie, so not son, but son-in-law, served in the 1850s. And then Guthrie's son, Murray's grandson, got elected too. George Guthrie was our mayor in the early 1900s.
Wow, I was not expecting it to go down 3 whole generations.
Yep,
Me
plot
neither.
twist. There's 3. So one father-son, and then also a grandfather, son-in-law, grandson situation. So what this tells me is that if Corey's kids, Molly or Emmett, who I think both still qualify as toddlers at this point, if either of them ever become mayor, I think they're going to have the whole Murray-Guthrie dynasty beat. So that's something to watch for in 2050 and beyond.
Okay, we'll check back in.
We will talk now about Corey O'Connor's race. Of course, he won the mayor's office. That was mostly decided in the spring. But we always like to kind of step back and talk about things like speeches and who was in the room, because I feel like you can often deduce some things from things like that. Mm-hmm. He hosted his party at the IBEW Hall in the South Side. I gotta say, y'all, I feel like this is a rule for Democrats. If you're gonna host a big Democratic party in the city of Pittsburgh, if you're gonna have a victory party, it has to be at the IBEW.
a rule established by Magnus McMurray or his grandson, somebody somewhere.
I like that you made him Irish in there, McMurray.
What is his name?
Just Murray.
Listen, we're in Pittsburgh, although I guess that wasn't the friendliest era for the Irish in our city and nation.
Honestly. So Corey's speech was 5.5 minutes total, delayed slightly by them not being able to turn down his walk-up music. Mallory, you and I were cackling over this. Bon Jovi's blaring, and they can't figure out how to turn the music down.
I know. It just like, it was not the most like epic start to a victory speech I've ever witnessed.
That feels very Parks and Rec.
Yeah, so for all the folks who like to know a good walk-up song, it was Who Says You Can't Go Home, that old duet with the Sugarland gal. So Corey, his wife, his brother, who is a Catholic priest, and his sister were all on stage with him. He thanked them, his family, his late parents, Bob and Judy, and then, quote, all of the elected officials who supported us that are here tonight, none of them by name, and then the unions, of course, because they're in the union hall, also not by name. And O'Connor said he is excited to get started and, quote unquote, unite the city no matter who you may have voted for. So we'll play a clip.
The road that we will travel is long and steeply uphill. But I promise you this, I will be honest and transparent about the challenges that we face. I will listen to each and every one of you. I will work tirelessly to commit to the promises that we made throughout this campaign. This victory is just the beginning, but I cannot do this alone. I'm asking you to join me in remaking this great city. I'm asking you to engage with our team over the next few weeks to share your thoughts and your visions for what our city should look like. This is our moment, Pittsburgh. We must seize this moment to create opportunities for our kids, to prioritize safety in our neighborhoods, to facilitate responsible development, to create jobs and opportunities for each and every Pittsburgher, to assist and encourage businesses of all types, and to develop housing for everyone in the city of Pittsburgh.
So he says he wants Pittsburghers to believe in the city and that he knows it's up to him to deliver on this whole promise of progress.
I was kind of struck by the phrasing of remaking this great city. Like, it sounded a little bit like a throwback to an era when Pittsburgh was on more of a decline than I think of it right now. Like, I don't know, it felt like that would fit with a victory speech of someone who came to power more in like the late 80s, early 90s.
I feel like that is exactly in line with what Corey's been talking about this entire election cycle, though. Like, he's kind of been dogging on the city and like this weird like spot we found ourselves in where like if things get worse, it's going to get a lot worse. But if things get better, maybe we don't have to go through all of that again. Like, even he's drawn comparisons to the city his father inherited, like literally almost 20 years to the day that he was elected, that like, you know, Act 47 came, like the state oversight thing where we were like kind of broke and a lot of things closed and changed permanently. So, you know, I really don't want to go through that again. So the remaking language sort of makes sense to me.
I guess it's also interesting to compare it to Gainey's victory speech 4 years ago.
Yeah, I dug around a little bit in the archives for this one. So Gainey's speech was longer. It was about 10 minutes long, but there was also, you know, unsurprisingly, a big focus on unity. Gainey also talked a lot about like diversity and how to build a city for everyone in Pittsburgh. Like, he led a little like one city, one Pittsburgh chant, and also mentioned how it's going to take buy-in from the community level to create change. And, you know, one other thing he focused on was about public safety and how we needed to address the root causes of violence here in Pittsburgh. He also talked a little bit about police and neighbors working together.
Yeah, and Corey didn't get anywhere near as specific as I feel like Gainey did and all of that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the clip that we just played, that was probably like a third to half of the speech.
Yeah, that was the bulk of it. As soon as he got off stage, it seems like it was sort of a round robin of taking selfies and pictures with supporters who were there. Literally, like, he'd spend like 20 to 30 seconds with someone and then turn around and shake someone else's hand. This is about the time that I got to the party, so I was like watching him walk off stage. Part of the reason I wanted to go, though, is because I wanted to see who was there with him, like the folks that orbit him as he's making these rounds and shaking all these hands. And I got to say, I noticed a lot of people that I recognized from past administrations, which really makes me wonder, like, what kind of roles they're going to have in, like, O'Connor 2.0 now. And actually, a couple of them have now been confirmed as of this week.
Yeah, so one is Dan Gilman. He was the chief of staff for former Mayor Bill Peduto, served on council briefly with Corey, like less than one term, but he has now been named as O'Connor's next chief of staff.
Yes, and he took so many of those pictures with supporters. Like, if it wasn't a selfie, it was Dan standing back and taking the picture for somebody. And then the other one, I did not see him in person, but he might have been there. Sheldon Williams. So he was high in the police department when Nate Harper was chief under former Mayor Luke Ravenstahl. Slight aside here, Harper was the guy who served federal prison for creating a small unauthorized slush fund and diverting about $30,000 to himself.
Whoopsies.
Yeah. He got fired. He lost his pension. He served about a year and a half in minimum security prison. I have heard so many people, this is before my time, but I've heard so many people talk about how they don't think that was strictly fair. Like, yes, fire him, obviously. Shouldn't have done that. But like, as white collar crimes go, it was so small and most people don't serve federal prison time for that kind of thing. And it felt kind of crappy to do to this guy. But I mean, anyway, that was a long time ago.
Was Williams linked to this at all, though?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So he left before most of that popped off. But he was high in the police bureau right before then. So he served with the Army Reserves, the Air Force National Guard. He was a Pittsburgh paramedic. That was how he started his career. While he was a police officer, he served for 13 years. He worked on the SWAT team, the bomb squad. He got certified in fire and hazmat and EMS. He retired in 2011. And since then, he's been a pastor and a public safety consultant and a fire instructor. So like part of the reason the O'Connor administration says they're appointing him to be public safety director, which is the thing that's now in charge of fire and police and EMS, is because he has actual experience with all three responding on the ground. So he not only knows how to like lead this sort of thing and strategize, but also has been there doing the job. So has like a deeper understanding of it.
Yeah. And, one of the things we've talked about on this show before is that the public safety budget is like one of the biggest line items in the city budget.
Yeah,
so
by
he'll
far.
theoretically be setting a lot of priorities around that.
Yeah, and then other people floating around O'Connor at that victory party on the South Side. Yaron Zober, I think I'm saying that right. He was chief of staff under Luke Ravenstahl. He was there matching step for step with Dan Gilman the whole time. Would love to know what he might be coming back as. Zeke Rediker, so he was one of Ed Gainey's top legal advisors. This feels especially noteworthy, like him being such a close ally of Gainey for a long time before he left. Laura Dragowski, also a Gainey person. She was the former director of the Office of Community Health and Safety. Molly Onifer, I think I'm saying that one right too. She was the spokesperson for Bill Peduto. And then just like a bunch of current and former elected officials. So Mayor Ravenstahl himself was there, former Congressman Mike Doyle, which I think is like sort of important because O'Connor was once talked about like pretty openly as a potential replacement for Doyle. Now it's Summer Lee that holds that congressional seat. And then counselors Erica Strasburger and Bob Sharland were also there. I'm sure there were more. These are just like people that I happen to like glance at and be like, I know who you are.
But I guess for anyone who kind of hasn't been to these types of parties before, is somebody's presence there a sign that they might be part of the administration? Or is it just like, if you have been in one of these offices in the past, you're going to go to the victory party for the city's next mayor?
Yes and no. Like, I think the thing that's interesting to me is how far removed these people are from current city administration. So like to see them back in action in any way, especially like your own following Dan and Corey, like again, step for step, there's no way you don't have a job. There's a job coming. We just don't know what the job is yet.
Well, now that he's announcing stuff, I am super curious to see what O'Connor's going to do about the police chief. I know he told WESA that he's planning to announce someone, like give us that name in the next couple of weeks. And previously, he's told us that he is not going to do another national search.
Yeah, and my money's on Jason Lando because O'Connor's been talking for a while about how they have to be local or have been local. And Lando was at the top of a lot of people's lists when we chose the last guy, Larry Scarato. Like they were both in the top 3 finalists that we were told about. Scarato, of course, ditched us to live his dream as a basketball referee. But Lando, meanwhile, has been, it seems like, a pretty well-regarded police chief himself over in Fredericksburg, Maryland. So I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see who it is. But if I were a betting person, that is what I would say.
And we've also heard that O'Connor and Gainey have been talking. Gainey's team is planning to open up the office so that O'Connor's team can dig into the budget and more. So hopefully they have like a collaborative approach over the next few months to set everybody up for success.
And for what it's worth, Corey O'Connor's transition team, there's a website now. We'll have a link to it in our show notes and in our newsletter. But if you have an idea for the city, they say they want to hear about it. There's a community survey. It's kind of long, asks a whole bunch of questions.
You don't have to answer all of them, though. I feel like there's a couple general questions. Dump your ideas in there. If you have a lot more, please share. But I don't think every question is required.
Yeah, stuff like attracting and keeping new residents, making downtown more fun, strengthening the park system, improving city services, like things you want the city to do for you or do better for you that they're not doing now, create new housing and what kinds and where. So yeah, like Sophia said, just answer the parts you want or the parts you have strong opinions about.
You can also submit your resume if you want to work for the city. They do not have a hiring freeze right now, unlike the county.
True.
But, of course, O'Connor winning means that Republican candidate Tony Moreno lost. Reminder, this was his second time trying to become Pittsburgh's mayor, and he has said he is now done with politics.
He said that the last time around too, though, so who actually knows?
Yeah, he did joke with us back in the spring when we interviewed him for the primary that if he lost, he was going to move to Florida, put his house up for sale and just get out of town.
I forgot about that.
He and Aaron Koper should get a duplex together.
Look, I did not think he was kidding back then, to the point that I was kind of curious if we would find out that he put his house up for sale before the election, but I never saw those stories.
Well, like I said before, if you are ready to jump town immediately after losing an election, maybe you shouldn't be in charge, but have fun in Florida, I guess.
There's something to be said for folks that when they lose, they pick up their ball and they go home.
And then, it's unclear exactly what Ed Gainey is going to do next. His deputy mayor, Jake Pollack, told us last month that he'll want to continue serving his community, but they don't have a roadmap for what that means just yet. So really curious to see where his career goes from here.
We are with you today thanks to the Greater Pittsburgh Nonprofit Partnership, a program of the Forbes Funds. For 2 decades, GPNP has been helping local nonprofits lead with impact. And every year, they pause to recognize the incredible people behind all of that work. The GPNP Awards honor nonprofit leaders who drive innovation, equity, and lasting change across Western Pennsylvania. From youth empowerment and technology to advocacy and community action, these are the people making our region stronger every day. If you know someone like that, nominate them now for the 2025 GPNP Awards and join hundreds of changemakers celebrating their impact at this year's GPNP Summit. Head to gpnpsummit.org to learn more and submit your nomination, because when we celebrate good work, we inspire even more of it. Okay, it is time for a shout out from our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors. Sophia, what you got?
Today's shout out is coming to you from Sarah N. Sarah is shouting out Linea Verde Green Market. This is in Bloomfield. And Sarah says that the owner, Gina, is the best. This is a really cute, small fresh produce market. You can look for all the greenery and the plants outside. Those are not for sale. The veggies are. But one thing that I think is really incredible about Linea Verde is that they also started giving out blessing bags. So these are available on Fridays and Saturdays. Totally free. These bags will include some fresh produce and eggs. I think this was started in response to, the loss of SNAP. So another cool business doing something to support neighbors.
Definitely. Thank you, Sarah. If you want to support your favorite local business, local nonprofit, sandwich you're loving, you can let us know what it is by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor and send us your shout out. We will read them right here and put them in our newsletter. You can join today at membership.citycast.fm. And a reminder to all of our older neighbors, meaning you've been here a while, not that you were older chronologically. If you have things that you love, we want to hear about that too. So there's no limit on shout outs. Keep them coming.
And now a bunch of other things to know in Pittsburgh. We have a little theme this time. It's calamities.
So the Mon Incline is closed this week because 27 people got trapped on it over the weekend.
I feel like this is every Pittsburgher's worst nightmare come to life.
No, the bridge is going down. That's the worst nightmare.
I think being trapped in a tunnel would be way worse. Like, the lights would get to me.
Okay, we all have different nightmares. Good to know.
No, each one you've named, I'm like, no, that is worse. No, that is worse. Now my anxiety has just really spiked.
The Mon Incline was stuck on Saturday for almost 4 hours. So the passengers are all fine. They were pretty close. Like they work in like a pulley system. I'm probably saying that wrong, but like as one goes up, the other goes down and vice versa. And they were pretty close to the platforms, but like far enough away that it was a whole ordeal to get the passengers out. Mm-hmm. They had to get help from firefighters and paramedics to get everybody out safely. There were a lot of ropes involved. And because they could not get the incline started again. And now it has to get cleared by the State Safety Commission. I forget the name of the actual board, but anyway, it has to be cleared by them before it can reopen. If you want to know about incline disasters and the potential for them, we did an entire chunk of an episode about that, so we'll link it in the show notes.
Yes. And then disaster number 2, there was a massive fire in Butler, but we learned something from that Jeeps were invented there. That was very new information to me.
Yeah, I truly had no idea.
So I don't think there was anyone hurt from this, but I saw that the building where they first made the Jeeps burned down on Sunday. So it's going to get demolished. It's like, factory, big brick building, big windows. Apparently it was also a destination for some Jeep fans because they like come and take pictures with their car there. So RIP to those people who maybe didn't get their picture.
That makes it sound like those people died.
Okay, no one died. Nothing happened. Just an old building is no longer with us. A little history lesson. We're talking about Bantam Jeeps, if you've ever heard of that. They were considered like the first prototype for what we now know as the Jeep model. So during World War II, or just preceding it, the military needed a vehicle that could transport people, heavy artillery, that kind of thing. And the American Bantam Car Company volunteered to try to make something. Now, I think it's an important note here that their plans, what they originally made, that prototype, were then shared with other car companies, including Ford, for example, which then made most of the World War II era Jeeps. But Butler is very proud of its heritage, and they've hosted a whole festival dedicated to it there for, I think, 14 or 15 years. I think 14. This coming year would be the 15th, like in honor of that whole contribution. I checked the website. There is no mention of what they're going to do now that the building where it happened is gone. I assume it's still going to be a thing. But I did think this was a funny detail from the event website. It says the festival is a Jeep-only event. All drivers must be at least 18 years old. Like it sounds so serious.
I don't know. Maybe there was some calamity that needed tight rules. But, now we use Jeeps to display our little rubber duck lines.
I still don't understand why that's a thing.
Every time I pass a Jeep, I've always wondered, but I've just never taken the time to actually look this up. Maybe curious about this later. Culture. Yeah.
A calamity for the culture. Pennsylvania's richest guy is giving his money to some other rich people. So we're talking about billionaire Jeffrey Yass. So wait, Sophia, is this right? $59 to $65 billion net worth.
Yeah, depending on the source. So either way you count it, tons and tons of money.
That's many billions. So he has given recently at least $2.5 million to help Trump build the ballroom where the White House's East Wing used to be. In case you've missed it, Trump demolished part of the White House, the entire East Wing, to build this very fancy $250 to $300 million ballroom. I can't, the optics of doing that while also taking food away from millions of people in the U.S. I can't. My brain can't.
It is really wild. So Yass also decided to give $100 million to the University of Austin. Different from
UT.
Yes, different from UT. This is an unaccredited school offering one single degree, liberal studies. The school was actually founded by a Pittsburgher, Barry Weiss, as like a free speech university in 2021. We talked about her on a recent show because she's also now the editor-in-chief of CBS News. But this school had its first class of students in 2024, and it has a whole whopping 150-ish students enrolled.
So the U of A says that this is the biggest donation it's gotten since the founding, and now they're not going to charge tuition thanks to all this YAS money. The condition to the donation, though, is that the school never takes any government money.
I want him to use his money for other things. People literally cannot afford food, and you're giving money for a fancy event space and like fake college. I hate billionaires.
Yes, to teach college kids how to hate liberals. Mallory, I think this next one is your personal calamity.
Yes, this is a very different level of calamity. But Clavon's Ice Cream Parlor in the Strip District is headed to a sheriff's sale. I truly love this spot as a child. Very old-timey, feels like you're stepping into another era. They have great banana splits. But it's actually been closed for a while now, and it turns out that the store owes the bank $98,000. So it is set for a sheriff's sale on December 1st.
Jeffrey Yass, come save Clavon.
Yes. Yes, direct your money to the important causes here in our city. But if you've had a fantasy of running an old-timey ice cream parlor, maybe go check this out. This could be your way to fulfill your lifelong dreams.
But, when one ice cream shop closes, a bunch more are going to pop up.
Another one gets bigger?
Millie's, hometown chain, they are actually franchising and expanding now. So right now they're in 20 locations in Pennsylvania, but also Florida. Did not know that. And now they're looking for franchisers to go nationwide. So Pittsburgh ice cream for everyone.
We'll move on to some good news. So Nippon Steel is spending a lot of money on some U.S. steel facilities. Still a little ambiguous at this point, but just a reminder, like 5 months ago, U.S. Steel, that sale to Nippon got finalized. I think the final sticker price was like $15 billion. Nippon said at the time that the sale was going to come with big investments and a lot of upgrades, which is very exciting. And now we have a plan, so $11 billion, but the public details are still a little bit vague. They say they want to be done with whatever they're going to do by 2028, and that it's going to go into all aspects of the business. So expanding manufacturing, more research and development. They said they're going to be trying to do like, quote, higher value, lower emission steel, and that the projects that they're going to undertake are going to create a bunch of jobs. I presume they mean construction jobs, but we'll see if any of them end up meaning like permanent ones. I'm really curious to see how much this is going to benefit Western Pennsylvania because we have a lot of U.S. steel facilities, but certainly not all of them. At least on the list is the Mon Valley Works, which includes Clairton Coke, that plant that had the awful explosion in August. So anything they can do to improve that space, because it is a terrible emitter of air pollution, would be great. It would be great for all of Pittsburgh if the Mon Valley were less polluted.
Agreed.
And then just closing out with a funny bit of news or just a funny image. We saw posted on Pittsburgh Personified that enough lights have gone out in the Pittsburgh Mills sign that it now just says Ugh, Mills.
Ugh, you got to do it with some throat, Mallory. Ugh, Mills.
Ugh, Mills.
I think that part's been like that for a little bit because I've been laughing about this for a little bit.
I've not seen it lit up at night. I think that's the difference because you really get the full effect when you can no longer see the rest of it.
That's true. But one thing new, it also says D for less now.
Instead of
Ross's dress for less, by the way, but
D for less.
Letters
Ugh,
now,
Mills,
so.
D for less.
Yes,
so Pittsburgh.
think it adds to, the ridiculousness.
Truly. And good news, bad news for all Ians that might be planning your weekend ahead. It's supposed to snow on Monday. I'm not ready.
Good news. It's supposed to start snowing in Western Pennsylvania around this time anyway, and it's just flurries. So no big deal. It's going to be magical.
No. I don't want it. Take it away. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji, All the Kimonos, Forever Sunset, Steve Collum, and River Run Dry, with additional music from epidemicsound.com. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe produces the show. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter, and I am your host, Megan Harris. We will be back Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all. What I'm seeing is that the Duck Duck Jeep tradition, this is from Google's AI, so like huge grain of salt, was that it was started during the pandemic.
No, it wasn't.
That you place small rubber ducks on other people's Jeeps so the recipient can then display the duck and continue the tradition by ducking another Jeep that they admire.
Wow, I really thought this went back. I would have thought this went back further.
Surely this cannot be right. Is this right? Y'all let us know if this is right.